Welcome back to the Servant Leader Library podcast, where we dig into the stories, scars, successes, and servant hearts behind great leadership. I'm your host, Nicholas Paulukow, CEO of One-to-One, a managed IT and cybersecurity firm. Building businesses, stay secure, connected, and occasionally remind people that password 123 is not a cybersecurity strategy. Today's guest is Jeremy Blount, a man whose resume reads less like a LinkedIn profile and more about three different people accidentally sharing the same body. Jeremy has spent his career moving mountains, sometimes literally, through construction, excavation, and mechanical work with GCM Incorporated, Rhino Excavating, and GCM Mechanical. But beyond the job sites and heavy equipment, Jeremy's leadership journey has also been shaped through ministry, hospice, chaplaincy, community leadership, and now serving as the president of the Mount Joy Area Chamber of Commerce. And somewhere between, excavators, chamber meetings, and serving families in difficult moments, Jeremy discovered something powerful. Leadership is never really about the title, the project, or the business. It's about people. So grab your notebook, your coffee, or maybe, steel toe boots, because today we're talking about servant leadership from the ground up. So Jeremy, welcome to the podcast. We're happy to have you today. And, man, your career has spanned in so many different areas. Why don't you tell us kind of a little bit about your journey and what lands you here today?
Sure. I would say that in high school, I was pretty much like most high schoolers, unsure of where I was looking to head, just trying to figure out life and what I was going to enjoy, but also how do I make money to be able to have a family someday. I ended up at Lancaster Bible College. That story is pretty interesting in and of itself. But while I was there, I thought I was going to be a teacher, and then I learned you had to pass these really hard tests. I was like, football and concussions, I can't do that. I'm not doing that. I'm like, so now what am I going to do here at Lancaster Bible College? Like, I thought that was it. I don't want to be a pastor. And I ended up going into youth ministry.
Okay.
As my focus, because I didn't know what else to do there.
Okay.
And I got plugged in with a local youth group. And while I was there, I watched my life impact young men. And I was like, wow, that's pretty impactful to see myself making a difference in others. Maybe this is what I could do.
Wow.
And at the same time, I had some older youth pastors. And I was like, okay, that can't be what I do forever, because I don't want to be that older youth pastor. So my roommate told me about a program that allowed me to go to both Lancaster Bible College and Thaddeus Stevens. That was like a hidden thing that he somehow uncovered. So I got a bachelor's in Bible from Lancaster Bible College.
Okay.
And an associate's from Thaddeus Stevens.
Really? At the same time?
Yep.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, and I would say that really kind of laid a foundation for me. Like, I was in my faith, but also in the world.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And allowed those two things to collide. And I would say that's kind of the course that I've been on throughout my journey.
And what did you study at Thaddeus?
I just got an associate's in business. In
business. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so, like, what drew you to, the Bible college? Like, what was their influence there? Was it family dynamic? Like, what drew you to kind of serving in that way?
The short version of the story would be that as I interacted with a couple people in the workplace, I realized that I didn't fully know how to explain some of the things that I believed to them. And I knew what I believed, but I was like, man, I don't know how to articulate that to people that totally are on an opposite side. And so it kind of led me there.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest challenge when you get into those conversations today?
I would say all of my perspectives regarding that changed as I entered into hospice and then into construction. And I would say the focus for me is just helping people discover. So it's really all about questions, and that's something that I learned at an early age, like questioning people, so that they can discover things on their own, not so much being a preacher that's like, hey, this is what it says, you've got to believe it.
Right.
'Cause I just don't see that being effective.
Right.
So meeting people where they're at and asking
Mm.
questions that allow them to say, let me think about that.
That's amazing. My mother-in-law was a hospice nurse for 10 years and she has many stories. So, do you have any stories of conversion or aha moments through your work with hospice?
Wow, that's pretty deep. I would say for me, the aha moments came when I began to realize that I really don't have anything to offer people in these
Mhm.
circumstances. And so early on in my hospice journey, I learned to enter into conversations only after I've spent a lot of time sitting and just trying to make sure that I emptied myself of
Mm.
my own thoughts, my own opinions, and simply say, hey, like, God, I'm going into this and I need you because I
Mhm.
can't do anything here.
Mhm.
So I specifically remember this one opportunity where um, I I called and said, "Hey, I'll be there in like 5 minutes," and I showed up, and she's like, "Well, where's the other person?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She said, "You said we'll be there in a couple minutes."
Oh.
And so we went on, and I met with the person, and just kind of sat there and listened to the family story. And as I was walking out, the woman, the daughter, I think, who like accepted me into the house, she just gave me this big hug and she said, I didn't misunderstand. I didn't misunderstand you. You said we were coming." And she said, "You came and you brought Jesus into this house with you."
Wow.
And like, yeah, that's transformative for me, not just them,
Yeah.
to hear like I was able to be present and allow God to use me in that
Wow,
situation.
that's amazing. And I mean, that's so powerful, right? I think about that every day. And I wonder, we were sharing a moment about my father's passing recently. And you kind of look and you say, man, like you experience that and you're like, man, what's this whole work thing about? Right. Like you're doing that and it probably feels so fulfilling, and then we all kind of have our ways that we kind of live on this earth, right?
Yeah.
How do you balance that? Like, I mean, the power and how I felt you talk about that. And then, how do you balance the reward of that kind of and the job that you do every day?
That's a great question. I think, as you and I were talking as I entered in here, and you shared, "Hey, my dad just recently passed, and here you are getting ready to do a podcast," and you kind of went from that into work yesterday for the first time, and like, okay, like this doesn't even feel the same anymore.
Hmm.
Probably is
Hmm.
what
Yeah,
I guess you're.
exactly.
Um, that's real for all of us.
Hmm.
There is this idea that we've got our lives that we've got to live, and yet there's these moments that really, if we take the time to pause,
Hmm.
there's so much more than just the normal daily routine.
Hmm.
And I think as I've studied the scriptures and as I specifically look at the life of Jesus, I think he's always pointing to like, I'm in the ordinary.
Hmm.
I'm in your work. I'm in your schooling for those that are, in college or in high school. Like God is present in all of that, and he's present in suffering.
Hmm.
He's present in the joys. Um, and we've gotta be able to slow down enough to realize like God just wants to be with us, and he wants us to recognize that he is always with us.
Hmm.
And so for me, I was in that world and I felt like God was challenging me. Like sometimes pastors can lose the sense of reality because they're always focused on spiritual things and trying to and there can be this disconnect from ordinary life.
Hmm.
And and I remember like as a pastor sometimes thinking like, dude, how'd you end up in this situation?
Right.
Like how could you be here? Like, and then I enter into the world of construction and I'm like, oh, I understand why people have alcohol issues.
Right.
Like I understand why there's addictions.
Yeah.
And like my wife is this is real personal for me. My wife is going through cancer.
Oh, I'm
Um,
so sorry.
and she's going through those treatments, and in the midst of this journey, like I'm learning things that I didn't as a chaplain.
Hmm.
And to be able to see like, okay, I understand why people would have experienced that journey maybe even different than I as a chaplain would
Right.
have. But I understand why people could get into these places where they're having affairs and doing different things,
Mhm.
because right now my wife's on a journey and
Mhm.
I'm not able to relate to her journey.
Right.
And there's this, we're friends, we're roommates, but like there's this lack of
Right.
intimacy, like just because of the
Right. Yeah,
circumstances.
right.
And it's like, oh, well, like if I wasn't looking to serve my wife and love my wife, and if I was only focused on me,
Mhm.
it would be real easy to go off track and say, "Hey, I'm just gonna try to make myself happy."
Right. Yeah,
So
serve yourself.
serve
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so well said.
So I think that all is kind of what led me to this place that
Wow.
I'm able to view things a little bit different, maybe.
I love the perspective though, because it kind of you talked about Christ and kind of how he led, and he also kind of like let go too, right? So like, wow, like I mean that's a lot of trust, and how we all. I said the biggest moments in my life is when I let go,
Mm,
and we're humans and we hold on to it all the time, and I sit there and I laugh sometimes at myself, going, man, you really thought you could do this on your own, you know?
mm,
And so when I hear you saying that and the journey that you're going on, it's I don't believe any of us can do it on our own, right? How hard it would be to not have kind of that guide. And I just can't believe from ministry to construction, right? Like wow. I mean, you couldn't have gone on further spectrums there. Tell us kind of the journey, like what led you to that. I mean, that seems like a big difference, right?
yeah. So when I was doing ministry, initially I went from being a youth pastor to, um, the short version is I became a church planner,
Okay.
and I was planning a church, and we were doing that in our neighborhood. And I was connected to Penn State York and some college
Okay.
students, and seeing people that weren't necessarily connected to a church kind of
Mm,
come around and be open to God. And so I was having that experience, which
mm,
was really refreshing. And then I transitioned into hospice to be able to provide some income for my family.
mm,
And as I was doing both of those things, I had people in hospice saying, "Hey, if we could do anything differently, we would have spent more time with our family."
mm,
I'm in this church planning world where I'm seeing God do some really cool things in ordinary people. And as we're doing that, my dad says, "Hey, I've got this construction company.
uh,
I need a plan for the future. Like, is this in your future at all?" And I'm like, "No, I'm kind of really enjoying this." And I felt like God was saying, like, "You've got some dreams about what the church could look like
mm,
on your heart. You're talking about wherever your life is stationed, following Jesus, and hospice is telling me, hey, if they could do anything different, I would be more involved with family."
mm,
And it felt like God was saying, hey, like everything that you're hoping for and that you're dreaming about, you can make a reality in the world of construction. You can go be a leader
mm,
who is following Jesus in the workplace, who's having an impact in the workplace, and you can be involved in family. And as you do that, you can have a larger impact on community. And felt like that was what God was asking me to step into.
I love it. And it's so much about Jesus, right? Building, right? And you're kind of taking that and now you're using that as a different medium. That's awesome. So impactful. Like,
Yeah.
but I'm sure the culture of church ministry to construction sites probably is a bit of a conflict sometimes.
Well, I'll just be honest with you here. One of my values, and we've now incorporated it into the value before it became popular. People matter. It was one of my
Mm.
values with the church, and it's one of my values with the company. And when I entered construction, I said, "Man, people matter, but they suck."
Yeah, they're hard.
They're
They're,
very
they're hard.
it is hard, and it's sometimes you've gotta really wrestle through and say, like, "God, help me to value
Right,
who this person is despite whatever the
right.
circumstance."
How did you balance, like tell us more. I would love to hear how you took the way that you led and you brought people to the church and God. And was it difficult for you to talk about that in the construction world?
So, I
Or
would
do you talk about that in the construction world?
yeah, so I would say there's this passage in First Thessalonians, uh, 2:8, somewhere around there, 2:8 and 9, where Paul says, "I cared so much about you that I was willing to share with you not just the gospel, and I say faith,
Mm-hmm.
but my very life. And I think for me that transformation really started occurring when I was like a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Learning to meet people where they're at,
Mm-hmm.
learning to ask questions about their life, their circumstances, and see things from their viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so when I'm hiring somebody, I let them know, like, you don't have to believe in anything that I believe in. Like, our core values are very, if you dig into them, they're foundational in the scriptures. Like, it doesn't explicitly say that
Mm-hmm.
anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But I say, you don't have to necessarily believe the things that I do, but you need to know that, like, in different circumstances, these things will come up because it's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need you to agree. I just need you to be open with having a boss who's going to probably bring up something. So, like, when you're going through something, I'm probably going to offer to pray for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that's how I incorporate it.
Mm-hmm.
I incorporate the truths of the scripture often
Mm-hmm.
because I think they impact all of life.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't necessarily even I write a lot on Facebook or whatever, and even there, like, I don't necessarily say, "Hey, this is from the Bible," or
Mm-hmm.
"This is
Mm-hmm.
from."
Mm-hmm.
This
It's
is
just a
what
way to live.
it's a way to live.
Yeah. I can really respect that a lot. Many years ago, we went through the journey of kind of, um, as an organization, we're about 25 years old, and we're like, man, when we get frustrated, like, what are those frustrations? And we really sat down, we started to write it down. And at the end of the day, we realized that the core values that we had established were at times at risk. And so we sat down and we really took the time to write those core values down and define them.
Mhm.
And when we truly then hire, fired, trained, and rewarded on those, it was really amazing to see the difference. And it's not meant for everyone, to your point. Like, right? Like, we're here to serve,
Yeah.
not be servants, but to serve. And if that's not what you're interested in, then that's absolutely okay. But that's who we are, right?
Yeah.
And so so impactful. It's amazing. Do you think that gives you a competitive edge when you're working in the field, the team that you build because of those values?
I I think it's been really hard for some people because after they're with us for a little while, they're like, "Okay, you talk about doing things a little bit different,
Mm,
and we don't really understand it until you're here, and
mm,
until you're doing it, and you're like." Okay, that's not how things are normally done in construction. Why are you doing it that way?
mm,
And for us, it really ultimately comes down to the relationship. So
mm,
one of the things that you mentioned earlier is like this whole corporate structure versus like medium-sized
mhm, mhm,
businesses. When you start dealing with the corporations, um, it's very easy to just feel like you're in a hamster wheel just kinda
It's
spinning.
spinning, yeah.
You're just kinda spinning, and it's easy to try to please the brand, but when you remember ultimately that it's about relationships and, like,
Mm,
there's people in positions that are held accountable to a corporation and what that all looks like, it's possible to serve people who work for a brand
mhm.
and separate a little bit their corporate identity from who they are, but it's really tough to navigate.
I bet it is.
It's tough to remember that, and um at the same time when a brand has an expectation on you and you've got people who are part of your organization who feel like they're being taken advantage of because
Mm,
you got corporate goals,
right.
that's been really hard to learn to navigate and to help people understand some of those expectations.
Mhm,
And, you know, ultimately, my desire is to help people become who God's created them to be.
mhm,
And so, in some of those circumstances, like, what we do might not be a fit for you,
mhm.
but I hope that while you're with us, you're inspired to take whatever the next step is that you need to for your life.
Oh, that's amazing. What are kind of some ways that you identify those things of the individuals that work for you?
I'd say I'm still learning those things, still learning how to do that. Transitioning from pastoral ministry into where I'm at now, I've been in construction for 11 years.
Wow.
I think the whole idea of servant leader,
Mhm,
um, as I've really wrestled through what I did in youth ministry, I had this mindset that, like, I'm supposed to equip you to do things.
mm,
and point you in a direction. And typically for me, that's in the direction of Jesus,
Mhm.
and follow him. But here's some tools that Jesus gave us to use. And as I transitioned into construction, it was easy to focus in on the task that
Mhm.
we're there to
Mhm.
accomplish,
Mhm.
and setting people up and doing these tasks. But what I've really been wrestling with is this idea of, what does it mean to equip my people to
Mhm.
be successful?
Mhm.
And part of that is task related,
Right. Mhm.
but it's because I want you to be successful. And um, so how do I empower you is kind of this mind shift that I'm on.
Yeah, I love that.
What does it look like to give you the tools to empower you and to really inspire you to become who you're created to
Mhm.
be?
Do you ever feel lonely in that journey?
I'm thankful I've been able to bring a couple key leaders. Me and my dad have brought a couple key leaders
Okay.
around our team, who understand these things and get these. A little over a year ago, we hired a guy that kind of came from a different background as well. And he's like, dude, you're building businesses, but really your goal is to build people.
Mhm.
And like, he just recently said that
Oh,
to
that's
me.
awesome.
And so when you have people around you that understand that it's not just about
Right.
business,
Right.
it's about building people.
Right.
I think it's hard to feel lonely when you have
Yeah, I
people
love that.
surrounding you.
I love that. That's amazing. Yeah, I think from a journey too of like kind of leading with your love of Christ and your faith sometimes can feel in my a journey with that can feel kind of lonely, right?
Mm,
Like when you're in corporate decisions or corporate meetings or industry groups and you're like, I want to lead this way.
mm,
And you find that there may be others that don't have that same kind of you're like planting your feet going, this is what I want to do. And there's been times that I felt pretty by myself, right? Like,
mm.
is this really right? It's always led in the right direction, but I was kind of curious if you've ever experienced any of those moments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing is, um, in those circumstances, to really be praying and just like, God, is the timing right for this? Like,
Right.
maybe right now I'm just supposed to be planting these seeds,
Yeah.
and as I live it out, like, other people be like, "Oh, that's what you meant by that?"
Yeah.
Because it sometimes it might feel the disconnect between what we're talking about and, their realities that they've lived in,
Mhm.
like, and quite frankly, for a lot of people, like, the church has hurt people.
Right.
And so when you talk about these principles that come from the Bible or whatever, like, people are like, "I want nothing to do with that." And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Well, sorry, it's because you haven't experienced it
Right.
in
You
a
haven't lived it.
healthy way. You haven't
Yeah.
you haven't seen it lived out in a healthy way, and let's be a part of, and as they're a part of it, I think it transforms their thinking."
Yeah. I
Um,
love what you're saying too, because I think there's a shift between this uh I mentality and we.
yeah,
Like one of our core values is we before me, right?
yeah,
And when you start to look at it, or at least what I'm hearing from you is when you're leading from the perspective of the greater good, like all of us, right? We're trying to create and help each other and not just I. So when we live in the world of I, as you were explaining with like your wife's journey, like that's a perspective we all have to learn, but it seems as if it would be a very lonely one, right? But it's difficult to be in that we mentality because it takes a lot more energy, right? Like it's a heck of a journey, right? How do you find your purpose? Like, how did you, as you kind of melded these together, what's your driving purpose?
mm,
Is it really to build people every day, or like at the end of the day, like when you sat down and you said, "Man, today was successful," you
mm.
know?
Yeah, I wanna answer that question, so somehow you're gonna have to keep that there.
That's all right.
You said the "I" before "we," and specifically to my wife. So right now, when I call my wife, I drive her a little bit crazy because I say, "How are we doing today?"
Mm,
And she's like, "Why don't you just say, 'How am I doing?'" And I'm like, "Because I want your answer to have an impact on me.
mhm, mhm,
I really want, hey,
mhm,
I'm not having a good day to make okay, like that should do something in me that makes
mhm,
me say, 'Hey, I'm not having the greatest day because my wife is struggling.'"
mm,
Um, and I would say I've tried to bring the same thing into the corporate place. The "I" before "we," and I was just talking with one of your staff members, can be dangerous
mhm,
when we're constantly putting we before me,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not empowering others to do what they need to. So I don't mind stepping in and helping the we,
Yep.
but I'm not always going to do that because some of this is your
Right.
responsibility and
Gotta
I'm
own it.
helping out because of
That's right.
circumstances.
Yeah.
And so that idea of the idea of empowering people to do what they're responsible for
Mm-hmm.
and to take ownership of it
Mm-hmm.
versus stepping up and doing their job,
Right. Enabling it almost.
enabling.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah, it's
word.
a rough one. Yeah.
There's a real fine balance between that, and so
Do you
where
find there's a fine balance between that because of the pressure you're under from a business owner perspective, or just, you know?
because people matter, I wanna help them become who they're created to be.
Mm,
So I wanna give second chances.
mm,
I wanna give third. I wanna have a development plan of growth and not just be black and white in that. Like,
mm,
dang, you missed the mark again.
mhm,
Dang, like you missed it again. Okay, we're done with you.
mhm,
I want to be no, they've taken a small step of growth. Was it the
mhm,
growth that I wanted to see? Nope, but they're
mhm,
doing something now that they weren't doing a month ago.
mhm.
They're moving the right
Right
direction.
direction. Yeah.
And I think the hard part becomes when you've got to look at it and say, let's just be honest. They're they might even be moving the right direction, but now it's hurting the company.
Mm,
And therefore it's not best for we.
mhm,
And because it's not best for we, it's really not best for them.
mhm.
Um,
Right. It's kind of letting them down too.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Or you're putting them in a situation where now other people are talking about how bad they're doing,
Right.
and like it doesn't create a healthy environment.
Environment. Do you ever find that you want it more than they do?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
That's hard, right?
I want it for them more than they want it
That's
for
right.
themselves. Like I
Yeah.
want to see you succeed. Like all these extra steps that I've taken
Yeah.
are because I believe in you more than
Yes.
you see you don't even
Yes.
see your whole potential.
It's interesting you say that, because I had a mentor say to me, Nick, like, you want it more than they want it right now, and you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
And you have to stop. You have to set them free. Don't put your position on what you can see for them. They got to learn on their own, and it might not be in your journey with you. And I'm like, yeah, but like, I believe in them. I
Yeah.
really believe in them. Like, but he goes, that's not their journey right now.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to figure it out. That's hard.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But then I feel like, well, that's what I want for them. But if I'm really trying to serve them, then I shouldn't be thinking that way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I have two very specific stories of people that we've had to let go in our company. One became kind of like my best friend, and he had some
Yeah.
addiction issues, and
Mm,
had to part ways with him because it was impacting the we
mhm.
of my
Greater
company.
good. Yeah.
And now he's in church with me on a Sunday morning,
Oh, that's awesome.
and his life has changed around, but I had to let him go.
Yeah.
And another, the same, kind of a similar circumstance. And in the world of construction, there are a lot of addiction issues.
I bet.
There are a lot of dependencies on many different things. But we had to let this other guy go. And the way in which I did it, I fully believe catapulted him to realize how
Mhm.
bad his circumstance really was.
Mhm.
And I just reached out to him last week, and he said, dude, I'm doing really good. I've been in my job now for 3 years, and I'm excelling. He's like,
Awesome.
I've got a great boss who's a great mentor, and I had to let him fail
Right.
to see him take that next step.
Yeah, that's well said. And that's hard when you love and care for someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a journey. And it's amazing how this whole, the one thing that you said, I kind of go back to it, was a passage that I remember when Jesus was sending, the apostles out and said, hey, listen, like, you're going to enter, on paraphrase, you're going to enter into towns and places at which the doors are going to be shut in your face, and don't try to sell it to them, in essence. Right.
Yeah.
Like, dust your feet off, move on to those who are willing to accept. And I think about that when you say that, like, not everybody's ready at the
Yeah.
right time.
Yeah.
And it's just powerful that, what do they say? Kindness is you kind of like letting them go, or like being open, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Ah,
Yeah, I think you asked, and I got us off track, the idea of purpose. And for me, I really do think, whether people see it or not, my desire is wherever I'm at, I really want to do my best to create an openness to the things of God.
mm,
And so for me, the best days where I go home at night and say, "Hey, that was a good day." It's not necessarily when we have a good sales day. We got a new contract, or we opened a new kava restaurant, or
yeah.
whatever it is. It's truly when I have conversations that are meaningful,
Mm,
and that you can tell, like, hey, that was an impactful conversation. And one of the most exciting things for me right now is, my director of business development and director of construction, like, his word for the year, one word for the year, is impact.
mm,
And his desire is to impact our team and to impact the people when he's out at networking events,
mm,
and to watch him shift from all about construction to, man, today was a good day. Why? Well, because I saw the lights go on in this other
mhm,
person. I got to talk with them in the midst of their dad passing,
mhm,
and, like,
mhm.
I was their first call, and, like,
Mm,
he's excited about that. For me, that's more exciting than anything I'm doing in
that's amazing.
construction.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's that back to the people that you speak about and the
Yeah.
interaction.
Yeah.
Ah, it's an amazing journey that we're all on, right? Every day kind of I do an annual retreat with my boys. I have 3 boys and a daughter, and my father had gone. My brother-in-law goes, and every year we go to this retreat for a weekend. And I left a year ago, and I heard "Find your purpose," and I'm like, "Man, what are you talking about? Like, am I not doing what you want me to do?" And I got to tell you, it's not like there was a roadmap written.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? And so hearing you today helps me understand maybe purpose as well, right?
Mhm.
Like you can do this business activity and still lead with a level of purpose. So thank you for sharing what you're sharing
Yeah.
because it's uh it's amazing when we have these conversations, the impact that we have on others just having a conversation,
Yeah.
just like you mentioned, your director of ops is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that probably concerns me the most about future generations is, I think there's so much opportunity coming for them that's going to be new, that maybe we haven't experienced
Mm-hmm.
yet. But if they get too tied to their devices
Mm-hmm.
and aren't able to do what we're
Have a
doing right here,
conversation.
right now, I'm trying to encourage my kids and their friends, like, let's engage in meaningful
Yeah.
conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Let me introduce you to an adult and make you shake their hand,
Right.
and have to look them in the eye and answer their questions. And, like, I think if we get too far away from that, that's where I'll be concerned. But I think if we can sell people on this idea that people matter, and you don't have to fix them,
Mm-hmm.
but try to relate to their story.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a networking event called the Core Four yesterday. It's
Okay.
focused on faith, family, finance, and
Really?
fitness.
Really?
And the speaker told her story, and then the guy that's been leading that got up and just shared this idea of, you're going to meet this person, you're going to hear their most impactful moment in their work, and then you're going to ask them questions about it, and all your focus is to learn about them.
Mm-hmm.
And once we did that with each other, I was just struck by this idea of, we're not vulnerable with one another,
Mm-hmm.
because you think that the person on the other side is going to try to give you advice.
Mm-hmm.
And really all you want is somebody to listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
Just listen to me. Hear
Yeah.
my story. Offer me a word of encouragement, but just encourage me to take the next step. Like,
Right.
don't plan my path for me.
Right. Or try to level up,
Y-
like, one up me,
Yeah. Well, hey, that was a good story, but let me tell you mine.
Yeah, right.
Like,
I think there's so much uncomfortable conversation because you're right of being vulnerable especially within groups of men sometimes are like, they don't want to share those things, which is where a lot of the growth comes from, that uncomfortableness.
yeah,
And it's well said. I mean, I think we're in such a fast paced environment that I don't even know if we know what quiet is.
yeah.
When you sit kind of in that quiet, I had a gentleman say the other day, I'm scared in the quiet. And I'm
Mm,
like, oh, that's not that's not a good place to be. Like, why are you scared? He goes,
Mm,
because that's where all the hurt comes out.
mm.
And so, I think we have this busy culture to hide problems that maybe we're not working on. But
What
wow,
when you're speaking of that, I've got a question for you. How old are you?
46.
You're 46. I
Yeah.
walk in and like walking into this feels like success.
Mm,
It feels like, man, Nick's made it.
mm.
Do you feel that way?
That's a great question. I think my success is kind of impact as well. Like, who have I served? Who have I impacted? Who have I made better from the knowledge that I have or the ability that I have that God gave me? Like, have I made impact? And I don't know if I ever feel like there was ever enough of that. You know what I mean? Which is also a pro and a con. It's also well, man, I could just serve someone else. Like, let's find, and I think sometimes I can get wrapped up on that. Um, and as I get older, I realize that, um, I mean, ultimately, I said to someone I was in an executive CEO group, and they're going over business stuff, and I've been with these group of men and women for a while, and they go, well, what are you driving for success? I said, to get my kids to heaven. They didn't know what to say,
Mm,
and I'm like, well, what else should I? I mean, money and dollars and yes, I get our measurements, right? But like, at the end of the day, my kids are going to be at my funeral, I hope, not necessarily my business associates.
yeah.
And so my success is that my kids are good human beings and that they will be meet and develop other good human beings, right? Which is not like a traditional dollars and cents, right?
Right.
Um, which is also a lonely journey too, when you're generally meeting with people that are about dollar success, which is not, do I like things? Do I like to go places? Sure. But it's not if I didn't have it tomorrow, it wouldn't necessarily matter to me.
Yeah.
Um, so it's an interesting journey to be on. And there seems to be a smaller group of people, which is why I love to do this podcast, is because if we can teach other people to just be good human beings, and we're human beings, so we mess up, we stumble, we, fall apart. But like, to have a group of people that we can have the conversation with seems to be um, less of a big group now that life is so busy. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that even answers your question.
Yeah.
You know,
When I started listening to the Servant Leaders podcast, I was like, dang, why am I going on this podcast? Like there are so many great leaders that you have interviewed, and when you listen to them, and it's like, man, if those guys were running my business, it'd be like a multi-billion-dollar
yeah,
business, because like
right,
there's so much talent
right,
in Lancaster County.
yeah,
And so like if I start to compare myself to
mm,
others,
mm,
well, no, I haven't attained success.
right,
But when you begin to look at it as, am I doing the best that with what I've
mm,
been given, learning and making mistakes and trying to impact people? Well, I
mm,
feel like I'm successful in that right
yeah,
now. And yet I've got so much more that I want to do as I learn how to equip people.
right,
And ultimately, Jesus said, greater things than these are you going to do.
mhm,
He empowered his disciples to go out and do more.
mhm,
And I think that's really what I want to inspire people in my companies to do. Like,
mhm,
dude, I want to give you the tools so that
right,
when people look at GCM, they don't think of me. They think of
right,
who you are and how well
right,
you do your job. And all I do is say, hey, GCM and Rhino and GCM Mechanical, I got amazing people that are doing their jobs well and they're impacting others. Like,
right.
that's what I want to live for.
Yeah, they're leaving a good impression to the next person.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And it's a hard thing to establish and develop as a leader, right? Because you're kind of transforming people into a different, we've had people that have started an organization that it's like, you did what you said you were going to do. And I'm like, is that a surprising thing? And they're like, no, there's been many organizations I've come to. They've given me a really great sales pitch and they've never really done it. And that just hurts my heart. Right.
Mm,
But, business and what you were saying is for the root of evil is that comparison. and you get sucked into that a lot,
Mhm.
right? Like if you're competitive or you're trying to compete just for fun, even with yourself, that root of comparison really can get you down a very, wrong path,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I have a mentor that says to me, well, why are you doing what you're doing today? Right. And he goes, what are you going to do the day you're not doing it? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And he goes, no, just tell me, what are you going to do? What are you, who are you going to serve? How are you going to do it? It's just a different way of thinking
Yeah.
outside of just, business. Right.
Yeah.
And like, is that your identity or what are you trying to achieve? Yeah.
Right. And I think, as you talked before we began here just about college kids and not knowing what their path is, I think as I have conversations with my kids, my goal is to not have me paying their bills forever. My goal is to, how do I help you transition to that next stage where you're able to pay some of your own
Right.
bills and, you're able to say, hey, I don't know where I'm going to be when I'm 30, but I do know that my next step is
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go to college, or my next step is I'm going to go to the army, or
Mm-hmm.
my next step is I'm going to get a job. And to get to that next step, I'm developing these skills or I'm working this
Mm-hmm.
process. Like, I just want to see that you know what the next step is. And
Right.
when you begin to work on the next step, the steps down the road will take care of
That's right.
themselves. It's when you're sitting there and you're I don't know what I'm going to do, so I'm going to do nothing.
Right.
I'm just going to have fun. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you've got to have some initiative and some planning and
Right.
allow
Willing
my
to take some risk.
take some risk.
Right. I
Yeah.
think there's such a fear on I'm going to mess up, and I love messing up. Why? Because I know not what to do next time. Like,
Yeah.
let's fail.
Yeah.
Let's screw it up. Let's not hurt anybody. But when I talk to a lot of students, they're like, well, I don't want to fail.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes in our schooling, everything is graded by pass or fail,
Yeah.
right? So we're like working towards this pass or fail all the time, and it's bad to fail. When in reality, that seems to be where a lot of growth comes from, right? I
Yeah.
fail all the time,
Yeah.
but I just had an aha moment of what you said, just sitting here, and what we were talking about our children is the same that you do within your employees, I hear,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
you're trying to find opportunity and trying to guide them to pull out their skills and abilities to then find their journey on their own.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's really neat. With my children, just had an aha moment there too. Is like, when you're pushing them in a direction because it's what you want,
Mhm.
compared to supporting and guiding them on where they're going, it all seems to work out,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
I always say now, I have to remind myself, it's all going to work out.
Yeah.
Like there's already a plan.
Yeah.
So like, what are you so worried about?
Yeah.
You know?
And if
Uh,
and if we're encouraging you to become who God's created you to be,
mhm.
I don't know who God's created each of my kids to be. I don't know the gifts and abilities and how they're going to use it in the world. But if I can really point them to just follow Jesus in the midst of everyday
Mhm.
life, in the midst of this season, you might be doing this. In the midst of the next season, you might be doing that. And I don't know what that journey holds for you, but if you can become who God's created you to be, everything will be okay.
It will be, yeah. And I think that journey in itself is hard, right? Because the temptation of that's not cool, right?
Yeah.
And can really, right? Like the devil sits in kind of those areas, right? And I've learned in my journey, the closer that I get to Christ, the more temptation that
Mhm.
I am to
Mhm.
be pulled away from
Mhm.
him, because he realizes that I'm a threat. Those that
That's
aren't,
right.
hey, you're already doing what you're not supposed to do. I'm not
Yeah.
going to work on you,
Yeah.
And I think that when I said that in my group, like that's what I mean for my kids, right? I just want to be good human beings.
Yeah.
Um, and at the end of the day, when times are tough in business or in marriage, I led back with my faith. And my father taught me that, mother and
Mhm.
father taught me that. And it's like, if you have that, my dad said two things. He said, if you have your faith and ability to work hard, that's all you need in this life, and everything will
Mhm.
be fine. And so, um, that's what I think is interesting in the journey when you join people together and we say you're joined together in marriage, like marriage and faith and belief. I can imagine it's very difficult if you don't have a similar belief,
Mhm.
because that journey is quite hard when you have hard times, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Just seeing that in people's journey sometimes,
Yeah.
and how alone it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the idea of realizing that there is this battle to keep you from being who you were created to
Mhm.
be. And like the tendency is, well, I made those mistakes. I made that mistake. I didn't live up to my potential there. Well, it's okay
Mhm.
because learn from that. Like what you said
Mhm.
earlier, learn from that mistake. If you need to ask for forgiveness from those that you've
Right.
hurt, and then be willing, be open to move on and try again. And as you do that, I think it'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you just don't know till you go through that journey, right? Yeah. It's the hard part though. We're human beings, you
Right.
know. When you say that, kind of some say like those that live in servant leadership, it's like soft, right?
Mm.
Like in business, right? I've heard people say that. And like, so how do you measure like living like with servant leadership and applying accountability? Like how do you marry that together, or how would you educate someone listening today on being able to still be a servant leader but still be able to have accountability and do that with empathy and still lead with high standards?
Yeah, those are the things I'm currently wrestling through,
Mm.
We're in the midst of not the EOS
Yes.
programming,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
um we're in the midst of another program similar to that called System and Soul.
Okay.
So it's focused on a system, but you also have to realize
Mm.
that you're dealing with souls, you're dealing with
Mm.
humans.
I love that.
And as we're doing it, I think the key communication is this is what it means to equip you and empower you. These key performance indicators. Like this is the expectation. And our goal isn't to micromanage you in this. It's to set you up so that you know the expectation. And then our goal is to come alongside you and help you hit
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't do what's expected.
Mm-hmm.
I can just support you in it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
helping to define that, like,
Mm.
these are the expectations. You're agreeing to the expectations. I can do that. That's my job
Mm.
description. It all works. Okay. Well, now we're going to see, are you doing it?
Right.
Okay. Why are you not? Okay. So is there anything I can do to help empower you
Mm.
to be able to perform that role? And I think it's hard because each person's different.
They are different, right?
They're different. And you want them to be able to use their strengths and abilities,
Mm-hmm.
um, and in their weaknesses, like, okay, so do I have to put somebody else there to help with that
Right.
weakness, or
To
like, is
lift
this
them
just
up.
not a good fit?
Right. Yeah, that is hard, right? I think what I heard from you too though is like clarity, right?
Yeah.
The more that if we're not clear ourselves, it's really hard to lead
Oh,
other people. And man, I just come back with that aha moment of like Christ was clear. Like
yeah.
he knew what his purpose was, and he stayed true to that. And so, when I'm hearing you, you're like, okay, I'm setting clear expectations and it's up to the individual with guidance. But then it's that middle ground of like, how much time, how much do I help them to get there?
Yeah.
Right. Cause then, there's pressures of other demands. Yeah. That's,
If you were to talk to my employees right now, they would say we're currently in a state where we feel micromanaged, and we feel like there's too many policies and procedures.
mm,
And that's because we went from a world where they had total freedom
mm-hmm,
to maybe we've swung the pendulum too far,
mm,
but it's because we're trying to define it.
mm,
And as we're trying to define it, we're making it clear because, okay, now you know the expectation. It is now clear. We're in agreement. So, yeah, it does feel a little bit like this because we're trying to make it,
make
because
the shift.
ultimately we want to be able to just say, yeah, look, you did this, this, and this. You're doing your job and you're
Yeah.
doing it well. And to be able to bring in a new person and say, look, look, you're doing it well too.
Right.
And really having that same conversation with my kid. It's what you said earlier.
Yeah.
Man, I can get frustrated because the things aren't getting done that I expect to get done.
Mm,
It's because I wasn't clear.
right.
I didn't say, hey, for you to continue to use my truck, you're going to have to do these
That's
things.
right.
And the more clear I get, the better I can lead.
Mhm. Well, I think that's so funny. I'm smiling because also we do like assessments, right? We realize like if we're really going to take care of someone, we need to know who they are because I'm different than them. And we realized with my children, I had them my wife and I had them do the assessment too. And what we found out is we're all different communicators. So when we figured out how we communicated, then it wasn't the act of asking or saying, I want this done. It was the way that we communicated. So we found with some of our children, if it was in written form, by the end of the day, we would like X, Y, and Z done, blah, blah, blah. And they were given the freedom and a deadline. And they all would handle it differently, but we found that some liked it verbal, some liked it written. And when we figured that out, then everybody worked together. They just wanted to be able to put their own little spin on it, even though they understood what the result was going to be. And I think the same passion you have, like you want to serve and help others. And when we figured out like, what is our purpose? And so when we were making all these shifts and KPIs and numbers, they felt like it wasn't we anymore. It was like, they want X and they want it because, but then when I screwed it up 100 times and figured out, wait, I never explained to them the purpose. And so we wrote the purpose that says everything that we do is to educate and empower those we serve. And is that doing that? And the reason behind it is to provide them with an exceptional level of service. And so every time we went back to, well, the reason why we have the KPI is because we're here to serve others with consistency and deliver. And then people started to go, oh, and they called it the 5-star experience. We're like, was that a 5-star experience? So then they were able to hold each other to a purpose. Some did not like the purpose. And they found their way to another purpose somewhere else. But that's a fun and very, very tough journey. You know, as a leader, because everybody's looking to you, I assume, for the answers. But man, it brings back, it's an everyday journey, right? Yeah.
And if you were to go from here into a different type of business, that journey would probably look different. And I think that's the challenge, and that's the fun, is like, hey, some of these things that we're learning, you can apply in other situations, but you've got to, again, pause, understand perspectives and circumstances. And I think that's what makes it tough to enter into the GCM world. Like, we do things just a little bit different. Come get to know us, come get to know our culture, and, you know, let's see if you're a fit here.
Yeah. I think it's great because it sets that clarity that you're talking about. And that clarity then draws other people that really want that same clarity, right? And which I think is really neat. But it takes time, just like how you built churches. It didn't happen overnight, right? And I find myself getting impatient. Like, okay, we figured it out. So like, why can't we do this? And those that have been before me said, it took you a while to get here. It's going to take you a while to move the ship. And they're like, you need to learn some patience.
And that's the hardest part.
That is, right?
Like, just hey, like, we see where we're going, we see where we're heading, we see the potential, but like, let's move at a pace that doesn't like lose everybody on board. I don't want to start over, like, 'cause I've got good people here with us, and to serve them really is to be aware of how they're feeling. And you know, the change isn't easy for anybody.
It's not, no. Man, the one thing that hit me when you said that was fear. And I kind of look back and what Christ said, that, you know, I am hope and I am love, but I am not fear. So when you feel fear, it's not me. And I'm like, man, anytime that I run into that, I'm fearful. What if everybody leaves? What if I can't pay the bills? And then I sit back and I go, you know, you got to trust. And I think that's the hardest thing as a leader, at least for me as a leader leading people. You don't want to let them down. You don't want to hurt their families. Then that makes you sometimes, you know, lead in a different way. And we get back to letting go. I think my hardest thing as a leader sometimes is let it go, like let it happen. Right? Like, you know, it'll work out. But man, you know, do you have trust to really believe in me, or do you only want to believe in me when you need it? You know, that is a scary thing.
But the same's true when we equip our people, right? When we give them all the tools, when we see that they're set up for success, okay, go ahead.
Right.
Like right now, that's the season that we're in with, some of my people is like, I could answer that for you, but it's not my
That's right.
responsibility. So go see this person because they're the one who can give you the right
That's right.
answer,
That's who owns it.
and that's who's owning it. And
Yeah.
and I don't want to own things that aren't mine.
That, oh, I think that's so well said because I think we have a fun statement that relates to construction, right? That says, hey, listen, today you just bought a house and you own it.
Mm,
I said, and you've rented before, right? And they're like, yes. I'm like, well, when something broke when you rented, what'd you do? Well, I made a phone call. They came and fixed it. I said, yeah, you didn't own it. So now that you own it, what does that mean?
mm,
Well, when something breaks, I have to take the responsibility to fix it. It's all on me. And I said, listen, today, these are the 6 things that you own, and nobody else owns your house but you. So when there's a problem, you know, you're not calling the rental company. And so, like, just putting it in that terms, I think it's really hard. I find it really hard to teach someone what is ownership
yeah,
because we're so used to telling people what to do. Um, and to get them to own it makes them scared
yeah,
because now they're going to stumble and fall. And the way that we respond is really if they're going to continue to try it, right?
yeah.
Um, but that what a journey to kind of make that switch.
I love that analogy. I think it's a really great way to relate that. And I would say that the kind of key takeaway for me on that is once you own it, I don't mind coming along and assisting you with it.
Right.
Like you had a plumbing break and I've got to go out and buy the pipe. You buy the pipe, you do
Yeah.
this and you say, "Man, I got a mess to clean up. Sorry, I've got to care for this." Hey, actually, I've got a couple minutes. Let me come help you with
Right.
that.
Right.
Like isn't that's servant leadership.
Yeah. They
Like
own it.
they own
Yeah.
it, but I'm helping and
That's right.
you're ultimately accountable to making sure it gets fixed. And if I have to leave before you're done, I was just there to
That's
help you
right.
anyway. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I think when going back to another thing you said earlier is kind of that clarity or expectation, like because I would do it that way, doesn't assume that somebody else did. But if I show them what the right way is to do it and say, hey, these are my expectations, many times I never said that,
mm,
right? I said,
mhm,
like, well, this is what you should do. Well, it
yeah,
was optional,
yeah,
but like, this is what I expect to be done, which felt harsh, right?
yeah,
Like, oh, you're being really hard on them when in reality, clarity was kindness.
yeah,
And that's hard. Like when you're, trying to be personable and,
yeah.
kind,
Or, or you take it to the next level. Like my expectation is actually shaped by the corporation that we're working for.
Right.
It's not my
Right.
expectation. I'm telling you we need to do it this way. I've taught you how to do it this way because it's what they require of us.
Right.
And because they require of it, we're a business and we've got to meet our customers' needs
Right.
and demands. Like,
Right.
yeah.
It's crazy, right? Are you a reader? Do you have a book that maybe you could share that's impacted you that you think would be worthy for everyone to check out?
Yeah, I do read. I don't read enough these days between business and I go home and I've got 4 kids that I'm running all over the
Wow.
place and my
That's a blessing.
wife's journey. I've just recently kind of was at this event Core 4 and they were talking about Brené Brown
Okay.
and I really do enjoy reading her stuff and the way in which she challenges me to think from a spiritual standpoint. I think the man, I'm gonna have a struggle here to remember what the name of the book is,
That's all
but
right.
it's a worth grabbing.
All right.
Um, John Mark Comer.
Got it. Okay.
John Mark Comer has a couple really good books that the one is called Practicing the Way,
Mm,
and Practicing the Way in the midst of it talks about what spiritual development really looks like for somebody
okay.
and how you can grow in your spiritual journey. I
Mm.
think that book, along with some Brene Brown stuff, would be what I'd recommend.
Oh, that's great. I
Yeah.
love you sharing that. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Your last question.
Yeah. Oh, my last question: the event that you spoke about, is that a yearly thing?
So Core 4 is something that happens once a month right now in York.
Really? Okay.
It's built for leaders. It's hosted by a home buyer, Eric Buys Your Houses, and it's
Really?
very first home. We're talking about bringing one to Lancaster here,
Really?
where
Okay.
once a month Core 4 would meet and focus on those things. From a spiritual standpoint, I'm excited because they were talking about faith, family, fitness. When they meet on that Wednesday, they do a workout beforehand. For
Really?
those that want to come, they go
Neat.
and they work out. And I'm like, well, what about the people that are intrigued regarding faith, but they're
Yeah.
not going to go plug into a church or,
Right.
so we started with them what's called a Discovery Bible.
Ah,
And we've done a couple of those here in Lancaster. I have a lunch meeting today, and we'll do a Discovery Bible where you come and you read a passage of scripture and you just talk. What do you learn about God?
really?
What do you learn about humanity? If Jesus is in this passage, what do you learn about him? If it's true, how does it impact the way you view life?
Mm.
And what are you going to do about it?
Oh, that's amazing.
And it's not so much about teaching other people the Bible or studying. It's
Right.
about, what does this say? And as we discuss it together, what do we discover about ourselves, about God, about how to live life?
Oh, I love it.
And so it's fun to see Core 4 connecting a little bit with this Discovery Bible, connecting with faith or finances. And like, it's going to be pretty cool, I think.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice work. That's amazing how you're mixing that together. Kind of everybody on occasion says like, well, like, what's this work-life balance? I go, why? It's together. Like, I mean, it's my purpose. That's where I'm supposed to go, right? Like, and sometimes it's out of balance. You got to reset it.
Yeah.
But I love what you're talking about. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the whole idea of work-life balance, like, the key is, am I present with my family?
Mhm.
Am I present with the things that I need to fill myself up so I have enough to give? But for me, it's all throughout the day.
Right.
Like, I'm still working in the evenings at times,
Right.
but I'm sitting there with my family and I'm present with them. And like, I want them to see that in all that I do, God is a part of it. Work is a part of it. Like, it just is.
Mhm.
And ultimately, relationships are intertwined amongst all of that.
Mhm.
And to do that well, I do need to take care of my finances, and I do need to take care of my health.
Yeah, and yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, and when and how it all happens, it's going to depend on the day and the season.
That's it. Yeah.
But when you try to separate it,
Right.
I don't see health
So
in that.
difficult.
I don't see
either.
health in that.
Yeah, I see just more stress.
Yeah.
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 It feels like you're serving multiple people.
Yeah.
Mm. As we start to wrap up today, what was the best advice that you've ever received?
Sure. That's a great question.
Mhm.
I don't know that I've been asked that one. I think just this idea that faith and life are meant to be shared.
Mhm.
And I don't know where it came from other than straight from the scriptures, just this idea that you can't separate the two. Like, often, hey, you can't talk about religion, you can't talk about work, like those two can't combine.
Yeah, it coexists.
I really think faith and life are meant to be shared.
Yeah, I agree. I
So,
agree. Do you have any parting words for the listeners today?
I would simply say, learn to be present in the moment that you're given. Be aware of those that are around you and what they're going through, what they're dealing with. And as you do that, just look and begin to ask, who can I serve? Who can I encourage?
Mhm.
And as you do that for others, the biggest blessing of my wife's cancer right now is she's impacted so many people.
Mhm.
And a lot of times you don't find out until your funeral. And that means you never actually found out, but
Never
your
found out.
family
Yeah.
find out
Yep.
who all you impacted. My wife right now is learning the people that she's impacted
Mm.
because they're serving her.
Right.
They're caring for her. They're praying for her. They're giving her cards.
Mm.
And that's been a gift.
It is a gift, isn't it?
It's a gift,
Yeah.
but it's because she's serving people well now.
The impact of all those people she served. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's well said.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful to have you today.
Thanks, man.
I mean, I've learned so much. I don't even want to go back to work. I want to go hang out with you. Well, everybody, that's a wrap on another episode of Servant Leaders Library. Huge thanks to Jeremy for joining us today, proving that leadership can happen anywhere. in the boardroom, construction site, the chamber meeting, beside a hospital bed, or apparently while operating heavy machinery. So Jeremy's story is a reminder that leadership isn't about titles, corner offices, or whose truck's the biggest in the parking lot. It's about people. It's about showing up. It's about serving well. It's about leaving things better than we found them. And honestly, if a guy can balance excavating, ministry, business leadership, community service all at once, I think the rest of us can probably take a few minutes and reply to some of those emails without complaining. So thanks again for tuning in to Servant Leadership Library. I'm your host, Nicholas Paulukow, CEO of One-to-One, your friendly neighborhood managed IT and cybersecurity company, protecting businesses from criminals, weak passwords, and people who still click suspicious links that say, congratulations, you've won an iPad. So if you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe, share the episode, and keep leading by serving. We'll see you next time.